Good morning, MacLaren. Today is Monday, May 4th, 2020. The weather today looks lovely. Sunshine and a few afternoon clouds, high near 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Looks a little windy today. Winds blowing northwesterly, about 20 miles an hour with higher wind gusts possible. The sun rose this morning before 6 a.m. at 5:57 a.m. and will set at 7:55 p.m. On this date, May 4th, in the year 1961, kind of a landmark moment in the American Civil Rights Movement, the first Freedom Riders began a bus trip through the American South. So the Freedom Riders were civil rights activists who rode interstate buses into the segregated South in order to challenge segregation on the buses. The federal law said that the buses had to be integrated, but southern states just ignored the law, and the federal government didn't enforce the laws. So the Freedom Riders would board buses on that particular trip. They boarded in Washington, D.C., in a mixed racial group. And they got on the bus and then went into the South, remaining in that mixed racial group. And people would get very angry with them, very offended. Police would arrest them or cite them for trespassing or unlawful assembly. But courageously, the Freedom Riders kept riding and inspired other people to take those same trips. Okay, I wanted to talk this morning about something near and dear to my heart, which is bread. So because Americans are all at home right now and people are baking like crazy, it's very hard to get yeast in the supermarket. And so one thing that you can do if you would like to make some homemade bread is you can make your own yeast. So when you buy yeast in the store, what you're buying is a single kind of freeze-dried variety of yeast, and it sort of goes into a suspended animation, and you put it in your flour, you put it in your bread dough mixture, and it sort of wakes up when it gets wet. But that kind of commercial yeast is only one kind, and in fact, this is so mysterious. There is wild yeast just floating in the air around us. And you can capture it and harness it by making starter. So starter is this very ancient way of being able to make leavened bread. And the recipes kind of vary, but the basic idea is you put flour and water in a jar in the right proportions, and you stir it, and you let air get there and get it. And the wild yeast that floats in the air, invisible to us all, gets caught in the flour and water mixture, and it starts to multiply and grow, and it becomes this sort of gross looking stuff called starter or sourdough starter. And do not be fooled by its slightly gross appearance, because it makes wonderful bread. And one of the things that is so mysterious to me about starter is that it really takes on the flavor of the particular batch and the particular geography of the place. So starters that are made by the ocean might have a slightly different saltier, brinier flavor than starters that are made, say, here in Colorado. Another thing that is very mysterious to me about starter is that it can really sort of live forever, because you can just keep using some and adding more and stirring it up, and using some and adding more and stirring it up. You feed your starter. You do have to kind of tend to it and take care of it. And when I was in school, I had a friend who was a very accomplished cook and a very accomplished baker. And in fact, she owns a well-known bakery now in Atlanta. And she was very dedicated to food and cooking. And she had been given a starter that went all the way back to, I think, the 18th century, the 1700s in France. And so when she went on vacation, a friend would have to babysit her starter and feed it and take care of it because it had been alive for hundreds of years. So this is this lovely kind of homemade alternative to store-bought yeast, and it gives bread with a great flavor. And all you need to make it is flour and water and a jar. You don't want to cover it with a normal lid. You want it to be covered with fabric so that it can breathe, so that air can get in. And you just need a little time and patience, and read some directions, read a recipe, and you can make your own starter and start making delicious homemade bread. Okay, my friends, that's all I have for you today. Take heart. Keep tending to your victory garden. Keep a pleasant schedule and a good routine. Get outside, get some fresh air, get some exercise. Be a helper to your family. Please do not be at odds with your siblings. If it is your birthday today, May 4th, 2020, happy birthday. I hope you all have a day of kindness, friendliness, and peace. Folks, we're all in this together. We'll see you next time.